Thanks, Chair, for the opportunity to speak on this, despite not being a member of the committee. One of the things I'm going to start with is I'm keen that when we're discussing this, we try and move away from the position where that those pushing for the restoration of the lodge are suffering from some sort of collective modelling myopia or masquerading as a community interest. In my experience and through any engagement I've had with individuals and groups such as the Friends of Grant Lodge, I've also found them to be genuinely committed to finding and securing a sustainable long-term future for the building and it moving from being, as it is at the moment, a liability and a drain on resources to being a genuine asset for not just Elgin but for the whole of Moray. We can see from the paper before us at item 3.3 that more than 60,000 has been spent to date in developing the feasibility study with a total of 120,000 as budgeted cost. And I really think we need to ask is, do we want to turn around today and write this 60,000 off that we've already spent? I mean, I accept it in the current financial climate that every penny is sacrosanct. However, this was also the case when the study was commissioned, and surely at the very least we should have the courage or convictions to push forward and follow this part of the process to its conclusion, if nothing else, to answer the sort of unanswered questions being raised today by Councillor Ledbetter and by a number of others on an ongoing basis. We're also told that 3.4 that it's held in the public trust and that deed limits its uses to local studies incorporating provision of archival and gynecological services, registrars and related wedding room. Now, I'm sure it can't have escaped folks' attentions that over the past few years there's been a boom in interest in genealogical matters, with entire TV shows revealing such incredible facts such as Ainsley Harriot's great-great-grandfather being a white slave owner, and refurbishing the Grant Lodge would provide a fantastic opportunity to encourage ancestral tourism, encouraging those from far and wide with Moray connections to come and trace their roots and find their own stories from their pasts. This would provide a fantastic visitor number boost for Moray as a whole, and as has already been mentioned, there is in fact a legal obligation on behalf of the Council to provide some of these services. And I can understand that there is some reluctance from members to allow the use of Grant Lodge for council services, but what I would suggest is that perhaps members visit the Registrar's office at the west end of the High Street, occupying what's a prime city centre gateway location into the main High Street, and see the view that greets couples as they leave the registry office, which is basically a car park and the back end of TK Maxx. This is supposed to be a happy moment for them. However, this view obviously spoils it from them. It'll put people off using that as a facility to get married in. Whereas, if you consider the difference of stepping out into that car park from the registry office to stepping out from Grant Lodge into the Cooper Park, where many couples end up anyway for their after photos at the cathedral or the botanical gardens, I think we could create a real boom in folk using it and create a real solid income stream from doing that, with of course the payment for the wedding facilities and of course ancillary services on the side of this. On the cost of upkeep, as Councillor Ledbetter has already mentioned, we're talking around £200,000 to be invested just to keep the building wind and watertight. And for me, I think this should be an impetus to try and find some sort of use for this iconic landmark. Because after all, there will become a point in time where we will need to spend this money just to simply keep it as it is. And I think having an income makes it a lot better to be able to do that. Otherwise, we're just going to simply let this building rot away. I think at the very least, following on from the very positive discussions that a number of us had last week with the Friends, that we, even if the recommendations are accepted as printed, we don't completely slam the door shut on the building and allow for interested groups such as the Friends to have access to all information gathered up to now. And I would suggest including the information relating to, I believe, around £100,000 of unspent money from the insurance from back in the original fire, which I got information from Jim Grant today, which I was very appreciative of, and help use their collective experience and enthusiasm to assist the Council in working towards a viable and sustainable business plan, and that we can do what we can to assist them in the process, including reasonable officer time to provide basic guidance and assistance on this matter. I mean, Grant Lodge is a nationally and internationally renowned building that has deep historical and sentimental ties to the people of Elgin and has done since it was gifted to them by the Cooper family. And as custodians of this gift, we need to ensure that we do what we can to ensure this gift is preserved for future generations.